The British policymakers and other international agencies, including the European Union, then not established but working in cohesion, rallied together to develop policies of exploitation, to develop strategies of demeaning and de-educating, if there's any terminology like that, and trying to take away everything that was deemed as African civilization. I want to remind you that before the year 1883, Africa had its own universities, it had its own civilization, major trade routes competing internationally at every level. The French learned their university systems and libraries from the old African empires. Today, we are all known to have been discovered. There's the first man to identify or to discover Lake Victoria, and another one, Mount Kenya and Mount Kilimanjaro, and all the other great features of Africa. I'm here to deconstruct that theory. I'm here to dismantle the philosophies and say that, yes, we can go and walk back to the steps of our forefathers and reestablish our continent to be what God intended it to be, the mother continent, the continent that feeds the rest of the world, the continent that sustains economic, technological, societal, philosophical, and religious development. It's our own Professor Mbiti who said that the Africans are notoriously religious because he believed, or rather he established in his own research, that we anchored all our activities, we anchored our development and our communal, societal living based on the recognition of the living God. And that gave us the impotence to penetrate and overcome all the challenges that Africa faced. Many years later, having been structured as commodities of exploitation, I was actually speaking to a senior director of one of the multinational organizations that exploits our consumable industry, sells us our own products that we grow or cultivate or mine. We labor to convert them into the best products the world needs today, then sells it back to us at a premium. And they have a philosophy that Africans are to be exploited. And if you are a good hater, that's if you're really determined to be ahead economically, then you have a portion in the African continent to exploit. I'm therefore privileged this morning to share with you the brighter side of that hard fact, of that difficult history, of that painful and challenging lifestyle. Yes, some of us left Africa personally over 30 years ago, and some of you may be earlier than that. I was just trying to track the current generation of the diaspora of the African and the people of African descent in the diaspora, not the slave trade era, but our era of maybe seeking education, economic opportunities and all that. And there's a vibrant community that has been in the Western world for at least 100 years, working, lowering our professions. You leave Africa as a chief accountant and you become a chief cleaning officer. And if you are able to get a few people to accept your deodorants at night for an exchange of a few pence or coins, whatever you call them in the United States, in UK we call them pence. So you're so lucky. That's a good night for you. A chief accountant converted a chief cleaning officer who stands by the door of the bathrooms and gives perfume and maybe hand lotion for an exchange of a small tip. That is not our destiny. That is not what we were destined to become. We have a privilege We have the opportunity of going back physically, psychologically, emotionally, economically to our continent and reclaim that which was deconstructed and be who God created us to be. It's in that light that myself and our president here and many other Africans of the many other leaders of the African diaspora are rallying behind the vision of Her Excellency Ambassador Arikana Chihombori to establish the Wakanda City of Returns across the continent of Africa. The Wakanda, as Her Excellency would have it, are not going to be Wakanda 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but they will be Wakanda distinguished by the abilities and the uniqueness of the places that they are established. I'm here to talk about the Wakanda proximity point because I believe we have established a point in the north coast of Africa, or rather north coast of Kenya, the East African economic hub. And our proximity point is distinguished by the fact that it's accessible. It is international in terms of people who have lived there. We have had Japanese living in Malindi for many years. We've had the Americans, the British, the Italians, and they all came and found it habitable. The good news is that most of them have gone back to their countries of origin, abandoning our beautiful city of Malindi and saying, you can take over. You can do what you didn't do when we exploited you. You can do what you claim to do best, just if you had the governments that you needed, or you had the finances you needed, or the resources that were required. For many years, we were meant to believe that we cannot start and sustain development in our own country without development partners, without donors, without foreign aid investment. I'll be talking briefly about what impact that has caused to us. But so that I don't divert from the purpose of my tour in the United States, may I just take a few minutes to focus on the proximity point, Wakanda City of Return in Malindi. This is a city that has been properly master planned as a green, smart city, eco-friendly, livable, and also attractive to the entire population of the African descent. Developed by a company that was established in the United Kingdom about 20 years ago, Ushindi Development is a sister organization to the DEED Institute, that is the Diaspora Institute of Employability and Enterprise Development, which offers training and employability to young Africans in the continent who have been considered failures by the Western educational system. We go back to them and say, brother, sister, you're not a failure. You have so much that was disadvantaged, that was isolated to make you dependent of donations and contributions and the sympathies of the Western world. You are well able to come up with your own ideas and abilities and establish yourself. The DEED Institute is now training over 3,000 young people on the very basic skills that are needed by the entire world to create habitable societies and to give people opportunities to enjoy their environment. Other related organizations are the Ushindi Agribusiness Campus, which at the moment grows our own very special fruits, processes them and exports them to the rest of the world to give a sustainable economy to the Wakanda City of Return. We also focus on value addition of food products and also work with partner organizations that are committed into the development of this city. The progress has now been ongoing. Sorry about that. Yeah, the progress of this vision has been sustained for the last now about 20 years by the British African diaspora in Kenya in collaboration with the diasporas from other countries. May I recognize the presence of Her Excellency Ambassador Arikana, Chihombori. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure. So, the vision of Wakanda Proximity Point in Malindi is to have a city of the future that enables a harmonious coexistence of human beings and nature in a serene, ecologically stable environment. The city will boast state-of-art technology advancements, a university, a hospital, artificial lake, theme parks, and even cable cars for easier automated transportation. We have allocated 2,000 acres of agribusiness, 2,000 acres of conservancy. We have an area that has been set aside for hotels and conferencing, for pilgrimage opportunities for people to come back to Africa and enjoy their motherland without necessarily immigrating back to the continent. We are not here to advocate for every African to pack up their bags and go back to Africa, but we are here to advocate for a philosophical move, a mental move. We're here to advocate for a psychological move back into the continent, harnessing our resources and transforming our continent. It's only 7 years ago that a British Australian company docked its equipment in the coastal line of Mombasa, settled themselves in Kwale County, and are now mining products worth of billions of dollars and exporting them to other parts of the world. The capital that was required to do that is something that the African diasporas could harness within less than a month. But we are watching our own people doing all the labor and the profits going to international agencies. The Wakanda City of Return Proximity Point will harness resources from the diaspora, capture those opportunities of mining, capture opportunities of agribusiness, opportunities of technology, and revolutionize our own world. This we will do one step at a time, one person at a time, transforming our own country. The concept ownership, as I said at the beginning, is flagged behind the African Diaspora Development Institute under the leadership of Her Excellence Ambassador Arikana Chihombori. It's then combined into efforts that have been done by over 65 organizations across the United States, and maybe another double the number from other parts of the continent or of the European and Asian diaspora, who are all able to put resources to make this possible. These vehicles will bring together the resources to enable us fulfill the dream that has been properly marshaled and designed for collective, intellectual, financial, and communal capacity of the diaspora community. The promoters expect the project to be a remarkable success that sets a world standard on diaspora communities that can be marshaled to design world-class solutions for their home society. I want to say to us here that it's only in African continent and in African cities where somebody has a dream at night and the following morning goes and establishes a palace or a mansion somewhere where there's no sewage, there's no electric system, there's no road network, and then they start now looking for how to solve the problems that should have been addressed. We are committed to offering ourselves a world standard, livable environment that gives us the opportunity to progress and also identify ourselves as Africans who are able to transform our continent. The broad estimates of the development cost are based on comparative city cost globally, which is approximately 10 billion spread over a period of 10 years projected development period. Funding will not be donations from sympathizers and friends from the Western world. We're not going to accept people of goodwill to come and donate to our city. We are going to do enterprise. We're going to invest We are going to marshal our resources. We are going to give every sweat that we have to make sure that we are proud to own a city that we ourselves have designed, we ourselves have originated, we ourselves have funded, and we live in it. We live in a city. We live in a city that has cars that we have designed and manufactured, has schools that we have built and developed curriculums that deconstruct that 1883 mythology of deconstructing the African unity. We'll establish learning systems that gives us the pride that we deserve as people of African descent. We'll be able to walk in our own city shoulder high, developing products and manufacturing things that will be desired by the entire world. I just want to remind you that I have a relative who designs for Toyota in Japan and then says, I started that model from a scratch and it's on the streets. But that's all copyrighted for the Japanese. That will not be the thing of the future because we'll give our young people the ability to innovate and develop their innovation to the highest standard possible. The administration of the city will be a governance through consultative structures, incorporating democratic processes that include children parliaments, and it's hoped that this will become a model for the development of cities around the African continent, so that the model is replicable. Every person's voice is heard, from very small clusters all the way to the central government of the city and all the way to the bigger Wakanda organizations through the African Diaspora Development Initiative. The location of our Wakanda proximity city of return in Malindi is just 15 kilometers to the Indian Ocean, less than 100 kilometers to the new Lamu port, less than 50 kilometers to the largest Savo National Animal, what do you call it? Park, National Park. Thank you very much, Dr. And also, we are close to the Malindi city, which I said earlier on has been deserted by the Italians who have dominated the economy of that city for more than 25 years. We are also not very far from Mombasa Port. We'll be able to retrace the footsteps of our people who were taken away out of the continent into slavery. We'll be able to look at innovations that people did in Africa in many centuries ago because of the Kdrtv memorial and other facilities near the location. The residential area has been master planned to become an eco-friendly residential community, coexisting with great nature, trees planted. Already the area has its own natural trees that are growing, but also we are going to put a proper landscaping that makes it a friendly place to live in. We aim to create a livable, safe, and prosperous urban location with communal wealth channeled back into the society transparently through these democratic organizations. We focus on generation of opportunities toward employment elasticity, especially for the youth through sustainable city ecosystem. So people will be able to work within the Wakanda city. They'll be able to innovate and process their products and their technology for world consumption. Innovation that incorporate advanced models of engaging the challenges of housing, low-income populations to tackle urban sprawls and slums. In our city, the word slum would never be had because everything will be structured, properly designed, and properly governed and managed for an exciting living environment. We'll be having decentralized renewable energy supplies that are low-cost, sustainable, and resilient. Adequate governance capacities, as I've said, equitable service delivery, and new fit-for-purpose spittle patterns that are monitored by democratic community bodies. We aim to have social, cultural, and economic pluralism so as to benefit from diversification of people of African descent across the entire world. So this city is diaspora originated, diaspora targeted, diaspora managed, and diaspora delivered. The vision is to create a city in the most part self-sufficient and self-sustaining model. I wish to say that this is a vision that keeps me awake day and night, gives me energy to travel around the world and to labor. The Bible says that when Issachar saw the land and he discovered that it was good, he bent his shoulder and made himself a slave. I'm not going to be made slave by the Western world or the Chinese, but I'll make myself a slave to give our African diaspora an opportunity that can never be compared or equaled to anything that has happened in previous generations. Technology fails me to show you the designs that have been done, the master plan that we have for the city and the commercial district, the hospital, state-of-art 3D images for our hospital designed by our own diaspora community. Technology fails me to demonstrate the social amenities, the park, the golf course, and the bicycle rides, routes, and walk paths that will make this an enviable city to live in. We are also providing social housing in recognition that there are people who are dealt unfortunate by their life in the diaspora and may never afford to go back and build their own homes in Africa. In the model of fostering and also supporting the elderly, we're going to provide some housing in our social housing estate, where if you are committed to take care of other people's children, to take care of orphans, you'll be able to be provided with accommodation that then is paid back by our social capital to ensure that every desiring and deserving member of the diaspora community can go back and live harmoniously in their motherland without shame or disgrace. In conclusion, I would like to say that this will be enabled by three key factors. Number one, unity. If I could repeat 3 times, I would say number 2 and number 3, united front. Number 2, avoidance of self-pity. We go and see great mushrooming garden cities around the world, and we only say this can be achieved by united and organized economies. And we disqualify ourselves from that category. Friends, we have to rally behind our own ambassador, who has really come up with a great vision, and support this vision by being united in whatever we discuss about it, how we express ourselves to the entire diaspora community. Number 2, we have to spend and be spent. We have to travel around the world. We have to talk about the vision and put our dollar where our mouth is. We cannot keep on talking of failed economies. We can't keep on talking of disorganized political systems, and yet we're not willing to spend a penny to transform that form of corruption or that form of systematic failure in the continent. It's our responsibility to start something one step at a time. I'm not talking to you about this as a person who has only lived in the diaspora, but also as a person who has gone back from time to time, started projects that we can demonstrate the impact in the local community that these projects have offered. Point number 3, we have to register ourselves in the various cities of return, whether it's Ghana, whether it's a proximity in Malindi, Kenya, and many other cities that will come up. We have to rally behind, and do not say because I've registered in Ghana, I can't do it in Kenya, or because I've not done it in Kenya, I can't do it in Senegal, or because I've done it in Senegal, I can't do it in Djibouti or in other parts of the continent. We have to go as a united force, just as these multinational organizations, when they discover the opportunities, they set up in Kenya Firestone, Liberia Firestone, wherever Firestone, and they don't care who lives there, they don't care what happens. All what they want to do is to make sure that that opportunity has been exploited to the maximum. I don't know what stops us from thinking that way and affecting that kind of thought process. And finally, and this is the most critical part of it, we have to own it. We have to jointly own the vision and individually have a stake in the vision. So you can contribute, you can donate, you can give ideas, but unless you put yourself into it, you will never consider it something revolutionary and transformational. You'll always point fingers and say, that's what they did. They didn't do it very well. The roads were not wide enough. The water system was not as efficient as I thought. But when you are in it, you take the responsibility and bring the transformation that is needed. Brothers and sisters, time fails me to talk of the great possibilities that we can all achieve together. But I'm so grateful that I'm having greater minds and greater orators to show us and demonstrate how we can all work together. So to finish my presentation, I know that I've not covered very important areas that maybe are lingering in your mind. You're asking yourself many questions. I'll allow just a few minutes to answer a few questions on the proximity point, Wakanda City of Britannia in Malindi. But I also let you know that if you want more information, there's a membership registration form. If you want to own part of it, that opportunity is here, right here today, which you can engage with the team and you can get that. So you can either register for more information. You can also become a member in 3 categories. Number 1, you can be a social member to share information and just to pass this information to other people. You can become a professional member who runs their own accounting, legal, or any other firm, and you'd like to participate in the city. Or you can become a contractor if you run a big contracting company, or even a small construction company, and that would give you an opportunity whenever any part of the city development is in press. I'm so delighted that you took the time to come and listen to the presentation, and I just want to give you a few minutes so that I can respond to any question. Thank you very much. Any question? Okay, seems everybody's satisfied. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Lucas Jenga. As Professor Lucas Jenga has mentioned, he's the country director for our Wakanda City project in Kenya. For those who are not familiar where that is, if you look at the eastern coast of Kenya, perhaps maybe like about 100 miles north of Mombasa. A lot of people know Mombasa. So it's about 100 miles north of Mombasa. It's in between Mombasa and Lamu, and there's a big project going on in Lamu called LAPSET that is going to actually revolutionize that area. And that's why Wakanda will be right there in between of that. It's a few miles next to the Tsavo East National Park. As most of you know, Tsavo East National Park is the world's greatest national park, biggest national park. And so Wakanda will also have an animal conservancy that will also have an opportunity of people to, learning more about animals, having a facility where we can be able to have other theme park arrangements for people to learn more about wildlife and so forth. But these are plans that are coming up. So at this point, the next speaker is known to most of you, but I want to make sure that I am able to introduce her to you in the right way. The next speaker is a former African Union ambassador to the US. He's a medical doctor, he's a diplomat, author, activist, public speaker. She's a leading spokeswoman for Africans' rights for determination and their own path for development. Her Excellency is the President founder and CEO of African Diaspora Development Institute, ADDI. This is a non-profit based here in US, and is designed to be the bridge between African diaspora and Africa. Her Excellency is also the recipient of numerous recognitions and awards from across the United States and the world. Most treasured amongst these being an achievement award received from the incumbent president at the time, His Excellency, the late President Nelson Mandela of the Republic of South Africa. In addition, Her Excellency has received numerous recognitions from congressmen and women, as well as state representatives, governors, and city officials from around the world. She's a strong advocate and believer in unity and collaboration among communities of color. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Her Excellency Ambassador.
A very good morning to all of you. Thank you, Dr. Lucas, for that expanded details description of the future home of Wakanda City of Return, East Africa. We appreciate you, we honor you. Dr. Chihombori and the One Voice Consortium team and all the organizers of this very important gathering, we thank you and we appreciate you. Thank you for all your work and reminding us once again that as we live in these faraway lands, to whom much is given, much is expected. As a Black woman, as a mother, as a grandmother, sometimes in my own quiet moments, as I try to think and go through a journey of answering the question, why are we the most deplorable people on earth? I often end up in a not so good place, a place where I feel hopeless, a place where I feel completely defeated. But then, as a Black woman, like we always do, I dust myself up and I start thinking, who do I need to go after? What do I need to do to untangle myself? Because I feel all kinds of shackles around me. I feel so many knees on my neck. And I say to myself, I am the Black woman who gave birth to humanity. I got this. I'm gonna get out of it. So just one by one, I start understanding my circumstances. I start appreciating what has been done to me, what has been done to us. And after I equip myself with understanding and the games that they play, I boil down to two things. One, the need for unity of purpose. The unity that you talked about, not just unity, but unity of purpose. Unity that is strategic. And after we unite, we then need to pull our funds together. If we do just those two things. It takes me down to the 13 Jewish men. We met in Tel Aviv in 1945 in a library that didn't even have a place to meet. But that was after Holocaust. They understood they'd been beaten down, they'd been defeated. But they also understood that few as they are, what was needed at that moment was unity of purpose. 13 men. The decisions they made on that day in Tel Aviv are the decisions that have led to the Jewish people that we have today in the world. If I may give you a comparison, there are 15 million Jewish diaspora in the world. 15 million, that's it. And almost 400 million African diaspora in the world. They have this little bitty piece of land called Israel, a desert. We have over 30 million square kilometers of a massive landmass, the richest landmass on earth. The landmass that has everything and anything you could ever think of. That's us. 400 million people over 30 million square kilometers of land. We are the scum of the earth. A little bitty piece of desert, 15 million Jewish diaspora. They rule the world. Why? Their financial resources. When those rednecks were running around in Charlottesville with tiki torches saying the Jews will not replace us, did you ever see a single Jew on television? No. But I can assure you, it was taken care of. It was addressed. Have you ever wondered why, of all the embassies in Washington, the only one that is protected by the CIA is the Jewish embassy? Why? Money talks. So let's make no mistake, my brothers and sisters, as we run around and complain about what the World Bank is doing to us, as we run around and complain about the useless bulldog, toothless bulldog, the UN, as we run around complaining about what the World Trade Organization is doing, as we run around complaining about what our own leaders are doing, as we complain about everything that's being done to us, it really doesn't matter. Those words will be hollow if we have no funding to back it up. It boils down to finances. Even our own African leaders, the reason they do not reach out to us is because they know we have no money. The diaspora. We can't see it within ourselves to bring our funds together. Oh my goodness, I did not see the professor here. Professor Chihombori, how could you make me commit such a sin? Professor, I am so sorry, because actually I was wondering, I said, where's the professor? You're hiding. My sincere apologies, Professor. Please allow me to acknowledge you. And as an African woman, if I wasn't putting this long dress, I would get on my knee. I am so sorry. I really am. My apologies, sir. Please, I cherish and honor this man. I have watched every single one of his videos. We appreciate you. And he is the voice on the continent that keeps us awake, alert, and oriented. Thank you, Professor. It's all about money. If we do not pull our funds together, if we do not strategize, we will always be noisemakers. I would hope that those of us at this day and age, there's nothing else Professor Lumumba could say that you haven't heard. There's nothing else professors in the big universities could say and write about and talk about that hasn't been spoken and talked about. The question then becomes, how long are we going to continue to be stupid? We do some of the dumbest things on earth as Black people. Especially those of us who live in the diaspora, especially in the United States, the melting pot. Everything that we could be emulating, excuse me, is here. Ask for the voices of the Jewish diaspora, the Chinese diaspora, the Indians, the Irish Americans, German Americans. Loud and clear. Why can't we copy what others are doing? Let's take a page out of the Jewish playbook. 1 million of us, just 1 million, with $1. That's $1 million. Now let's take 1 million of us with $83 a month for 1 year. That's 1 billion. It's that simple. The question then becomes, when Professor Lucas stands up and says, let's start with the Kenyans. One Voice Consortium, we are sitting at what? All those organizations that have come together, easily 50,000. There's another organization that called me, they have about 100,000. Kenyans only. That's before we go to any other countries. Can we not see it within ourselves? To say this month, I am not taking my kids to McDonald's. I'm putting that money aside so we can create that unity of purpose and never have to worry about what Professor Lucas is going to do with that money. Because if Professor Lucas chooses to run away with that money, it's on him. Let's hold him accountable. But not doing anything and just believing that because we were told that we're black like the devil, that we cannot trust ourselves, that I'm automatically not going to trust him because I just know he's going to run off with my money. And don't get me wrong, there are some who have run off with some money for sure. But we cannot stop trying, because out of 10 of us good people, one of us might be a bad apple. And that is the disease that we suffer from as black people. A white person can come in and ask you for $1,000. You'll give it up nicely, quickly. But a black brother can come in and ask you for $1. Okay. You will take them through the ringer. You will quiz them up and down to justify why they want that $1. My brothers and sisters, we are here to talk about what can we do as African diaspora to help our circumstances at home. Yes, we have many complaints. Yes, we have lots of fears. But you see, when we unite and we have a plan and we execute a plan that is made up of people of like minds, a plan that have a people who believe in why we as a generation must put an end to this carnage. It is a plan that's going to work. Failure is not an option. For those of you who are naysayers about the program that has been presented to us today by Dr. Lucas, ask yourself, you have children, you got grandchildren, you have children of friends. Is this the world that you want to live for them? Go home, look at your children. The world that you live in today, is this the world that you want to leave behind for them? The answer is no. Our children cannot continue to live in a world that discriminates against them simply because they have the ability to produce money. It's unacceptable. And we need to take ownership of it. The Wakanda City of Return is a city that was conceptualized out of the realization that our brothers and sisters, descendants of the formerly enslaved, need a place to call home. But also those of us who are diaspora but born in Africa, we too need a place to call home. A place of our own, a place we can be proud of. Let me take a moment to talk about our Afro-descendant brothers and sisters. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to grow up in this world, generation after generation, and not know where you come from? I was not aware of that phenomenon until about 10 years ago. I just have never asked myself, where do you come from? I just knew it. But we got millions of children of Africa, generation after generation, do not know where they come from. How empty a feeling that can be. President Nana of Ghana felt that there was a need for a place called a place of return. Some of you may not be aware, but 80% roughly of the Afro-descendants that were taken out of Africa as slaves, they were pulled into Ghana from all over West Africa. Those who came to North America left through the Cape Coast. They called them Cape Coast castles, we call them dungeons. And 20 miles away, those who went to South America and to the Caribbean, they left out of the Elmina dungeons. It is therefore appropriate and fitting that the first city of return be built on that soil. The soil where their ancestors last set foot on the African soil. A place that we can also use as a focal point to pay homage and pilgrimage to our ancestors who suffered. So it is on a nice evening, I get a beautiful phone call from Brother Chihombori. He said, Ambassador, I want to come and attend the meeting that you're having about the city of return. We, One Voice Consortium, we've been listening to you and we heard you. But we feel as there's going to be the city of return, West Africa in Ghana, we need the city of return, East Africa in Kenya. And so the conversations began. The conversations about the building of something spectacular. Something that we can stand on the tallest mountain and claim to be our own. Something, as Professor Lucas said, we don't need anybody. We're tired of handouts. We don't need handouts. Why? Because we can. 1 million of us with $1, remember that. Now let's give $1 every day. Now let's give $1 for the next 2 years, the next 5 years. It doesn't even have to be you all the time. Let's just average 1 million people giving $1 at any given time. Let's each and every one of us make that commitment to say, I will give up that $1 and I will not stop to think about, has my neighbor done it yet? Because it doesn't matter. We're asking all of you to board this train with one thing and one thing in mind. A commitment to what we can do as Black people. A commitment to making this world a better place for our children. A commitment and demand for a world, particularly a world for Black people, that is fair, that is just and equitable. A commitment to also saying, as Black people, we will create a world that is free of racism, bigotry, and hate, and we demand it. This train must be full of those who believe in what we can do when we are united. The Wakanda City of Return is something that long past due. I know we struggle with unity as Black people, but that healing that we desire starts with the mind. For some of us, it seems mission impossible to not believe in what white people do. The journey to the healing, the journey to freeing ourselves from the legacy of slavery and colonization is an uphill battle. Let's make no mistake about it. But when we understand the genesis of how we ended up with the mindset that we do, maybe and just maybe, it will make the journey, the healing process, just a little bit better. If I were asked some of you right now, what color is the devil? Answer that question sincerely to yourselves. Without thinking, automatically all of you said black. What color are the angels? Answer it sincerely to yourself. Don't you feel stupid? Who has died and gone to heaven and seen angels? Who has died and gone to hell and seen a black devil? Except they came to Africa and found some most amazing people. Powerful kingdom with well-established civilizations and educational systems, and they wondered, how on earth are we going to defeat such a people? So they sent their missionaries and they introduced religion. There's nothing wrong with the Bible. It's a good book. It talks about righteousness, how to live with one another. If we can just stick to the 10 commandments in the Bible, this world would be a better place. But they twisted it. Jesus Christ, who we know all very well, hair like wool, crimson skin. I argue with my girlfriend all the time. She reads the Bible. But when Mary and Joseph were running away from King Herod, where were they told to go? Egypt. Why Egypt? Because in Egypt, he would blend with others that looked like him. Over the years, Jesus Christ's color has changed. So they came and taught us about the colors, the green, white, yellow, black, white. All nice and good. But when it came to Jesus Christ and the angels and the devil, they said the devil is black. But then they turned around and said, you two people, you're black like the devil. And we said, okay. We never questioned it centuries ago. And then they turned around and said, never mind how this tablecloth looks like it's white. We too are white like the angels. And we said, okay. We never questioned it. I'm emphasizing this point, my brothers and sisters, because it is important that you understand the genesis of why you feel the way you do. The genesis of black self-hate, the genesis of black lack of trust in each other, it was instilled upon us. So for centuries, we have worshipped white angels that look like them. And subconsciously, as we worship the white angels and the white Jesus, we are worshiping them. And as we run away from the devil, we are running away from ourselves. You see, that is why wherever you go, you're there. Because they have told you you're undesirable. You're black, you're not good, you're defective, you need fixing. They did an experiment a few years back. 5-year-olds were given dolls, black dolls, white dolls, and they were told to choose. Naturally, the white girls picked white dolls. What was amazing was that the little black girls picked white dolls. And when asked why, they said because the black dolls were ugly. These are girls under 5 years of age. And I know no mother in their right mind would sit their children down and say, you're black, you're ugly. But somehow there are subliminal messages all around us that are telling them that that which you represent is bad and undesirable. We are on automatic pilot of stupidity when it comes to this. We automatically know we feel inferior. I was talking to one of my nieces. She's a nurse, getting ready to have a meeting at the hospital. There was one chair left in the front row, so she took it. And as she was sitting there, one white nurse was coming in. Without thinking, she felt she should get up and give the front seat to the nurse. She actually got up and started walking away, and then she remembered Auntie and how Auntie talks. She ran back and she took her seat. She called me after the meeting. She said, Auntie, you won't believe what I almost did. And I wasn't even thinking I was giving up that seat to another white nurse. But such is the life that we live as black people. Stop. Be in the present. Check yourself. Why do you feel the way you do? It is precisely because of that mentality that we are unable to fight back. It is that same mentality that's making it difficult for our ministers to look at the colonizers in the face and say, what you're doing is wrong. It is the same mentality that's keeping people in leadership roles to speak truth to power. Fear. Some of the abuses meted to the Africans are so blatant. It is scary that things can be so bad. And we, look at us, intelligent people, we're doing nothing about it. I was just chatting with a friend of mine from Zimbabwe. We were promised the remains of our ancestors who were murdered by the British, and they took them to Europe, to Britain. And when Mugabe first came to power, 1980, he demanded that we get those remains back. He wanted to bury them, proper burial. Only last year, they said, okay, we'll let you have them. Guess what? 2021, we still don't have the remains. Now guys, who are these people? Think about it. These are just remains of people that they murdered. Evidence of murder. Hundreds of our ancestors are kept in Europe, and they refuse to give them back. Why? Now you see why I feel sometimes defeated? If we can't address something so basic, how long would a finger of a British soldier remain in Kenya? How long will a toe of a German soldier remain in Mozambique? Not even an hour. And because it's Africans, it's okay. And then we sit here, intelligent as we are, we say, okay. We go to Europe, we visit these beautiful museums, we pay, and there's a statue right here, clearly stated, stolen from Benin. And we pay to see it. African artifacts are littered throughout Europe, telling you exactly where they came from. And when we say we want our artifacts back, they say, no, we're not giving them to you. And what do we say? Okay, we go back. We go back to Africa. What are the ministers of culture doing? Why haven't they all come together as ministers of culture throughout Africa and say, Europe, we will not engage you until this wrong is righted? And why are we, African women, you know what we do when we get mad? We come together, we take off our clothes. And that's the only way our men will listen to us. Why haven't we come together, taken off our clothes and say, we will not? I think I have a sister from Liberia. Where is she? What did the women do when the Liberians would not stop the war? They said, no sleeping with our men until the war is over. It took one man anyway. This moment is now. The blatant abuse of Africa has got to come to an end. And we have a responsibility to come together. No better way than to show them that we don't need you. Let's unite behind Professor Lucas. Let's unite behind Brother Chihombori. Let's answer the call from Professor Lumumba and do what we must do. We don't need them. When they know that Black people have risen, Black people have united, Black people are taking matters in our own hands, and that we are going to reclaim that place that we gave up centuries ago. We are going to take our Africa back to where we were, the center of the earth. We are going to remind the world that we told the world what it means to be human. We told the world what civilization is all about. That's what Professor Lucas is talking about. That's what Dr. Chihombori is talking about. The building of that Africa that once was. We have it within ourselves to do just that. I stand here to say, Professor Lucas, thank you for what you are championing. Professor Chihombori, thank you for gathering us and bringing us together and keeping us grounded and reminding us that to whom much is given, much is expected. That we must own our Africa, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that the building of the Africa that we want is our responsibility and ours alone. In the past, you could say, where do we begin? We don't know what to do. Well, he was just right here. Professor Lucas told you that he has opened the door. Do you know what it takes to plan a city? We're talking working 24/7. And he's doing it with his team. Yours is to just give up $1 every month. To just say, Professor Lucas, where do I put my money? That's all you need to do. But I can tell you with what I know, the engagements I've had with Dr. Chihombori, I can tell you they have no intentions of taking your money. They got enough of their own. The question is, are you a black person who is awoken? In this country, they say, are you woke? Are you a black person who can say, I can see clearly now? Or are you the black person who's still waiting for the white man to do it first? Or better still, do it for you? Enslavement, no. It's time for you and I to have a serious conversation with the image in the mirror. And ask the image in the mirror some very straightforward questions. Are you colonized? And are you committed to remaining colonized? Or are you going to say, 20 years from now, I want to be able to sit down with my children and grandchildren, and I'm going to tell them what we would have done. My brothers and sisters, we come together, we strategized, we said no to colonization, no to abuse of the African. We pulled our monies together, and we started the rebuilding of the Africa that was with the Lindi Wakanda City of Return. That while the mission is not yet accomplished, children, but this is what we did. When there were problems in our Africa, we did something. Or are you going to say, when there were problems in Africa, we did nothing? Think of that conversation with your grandchildren. How beautiful it would be to hold their hands to say, let's go home. We built this. They came to our countries, they destroyed us, but finally we defeated them. This is what we did. And that's what Dr. Lucas is talking about. A legacy that we can be proud mothers and proud fathers and walk tall, telling our children what we would have done. Professor Lucas is calling. Brother Chihombori is calling. Professor Lumumba has traveled thousands of miles to come tell you the gospel. The question is, are you going to answer the call? The story of Africa is a simple story, but a very sad one. It is our story, and I'm sticking to it. I hope you will too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency, Ambassador Chihombori. I think the best way I can describe is that in this room we have two stars, two African stars.
Yes.
And there is an eclipse. You know when the moon covers the sun, there is an eclipse. So there is an eclipse in this room because we have two great African stars. And they're talking to the world through what we are saying here. So we may be thinking this conversation is here, but it is worldwide. Our people around the world are listening. Our people in the diaspora in various countries, US, Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, Caribbean, they're listening, they're watching. And I'm glad to say, Your Excellency, you continue to inspire us. You continue to help us become better. And most important, understand where we come from so that we know where we are going. And we've taken that not just the way it is, but we have put it forward to the next step. That is why from your vision, we have the Wakanda East Africa. And it's gaining so much momentum because they even want to launch it But we have told them, no, wait until the West African one is launched. We can't start launching until the mother one is launched, so that we can get everything going. But I know in God's time, everything is going to happen very well. I wanted to just say that on this banner here, we have several organizations that have been supportive of Professor PLO's tour in US. And you can see most of them are over here. We have Apollo Medical Group, we have University of Cincinnati, we have EPAD, that is empowering people of African descent. We have others like the Miles of Great Hopes, which is in water, health, and education. We have the Foreign Policy Leadership Council, the COP51 Club, Benin, Optiven, Inspiring Possibilities, Talanta Awards. We also have APNET, that is African Professional Network. We are based in Cincinnati, led by Professor Ellis, and of course, Wakanda City of Return, and also Jambo List. We have others that may not have appeared here then with their logos, but they are all in our websites and all the promotional materials. We have put that together. The next speaker who is going to be with us does not need any introduction to you. The next speaker has a long resume. If you'll allow me to keep you here until tomorrow, that would be okay. He has a long resume. He's been a champion of African causes, Pan-Africanism. He's a celebrated lawyer. He has been chair of the School of Law in Kenya. He has been the chair of the Anti-Corruption Commission in Kenya. He practices law not just in Kenya, but also in Tanganyika. He's been celebrated in many African countries. He's actually been awarded a chief title in Liberia. A chief. Sometimes we think that the word chief doesn't mean anything. Chief means you are up there. He's a chief. And for a country to call you chief, that's a high honor. That's a honor that he got from Liberia for the many work that he has done in that country. He's been celebrated in South Africa. He's been the Nelson Mandela Lecturer. So again, celebrated for the many work that he's done under that title. He's been celebrated as the Julius Nyerere Lecturer by Tanzania for the many work that he has done in Tanzania. He leads a foundation that has a presence in 38 countries. In fact, I believe 30 of those countries in Africa, and some of those other countries, some other countries outside of Africa. And that foundation is in various sectors: water, education, health, agriculture, trade, and many other things. Our next speaker continues to inspire us and continues to rally us and continues to champion our causes. The next speaker has been our guest throughout United States, talking about issues that are important to our continent, issues that are dear to us, not just as an individual, but as a community. Because whether you are in the East or West or North or South or Central, you're in Africa. And that's important. You're in your motherland. So help me welcome this great son of Africa, Professor PLO Lumumba.
Thank you very much. Let me say how glad I am this very early afternoon. And let me say how glad I am to meet my sister physically for the first time. We've been in communication for so long that I feel that we have been together for a long period. But believe me, this is the very first time that we are meeting physically, and I'm humbled and gladdened at once. You know, many things have and will continue to be said. I listened to my brother Lucas, and Lucas whom I've had the advantage of knowing for a long time. I've listened to your presentation on Wakanda, and I remember telling him that one of the problems we have in Africa is that when one comes up with an initiative, we want to start yet another one. And we must not do that if we are going forward. We must embrace a good idea and energize that idea, notwithstanding the source of that idea. And the beauty of this assembly is that we are now wedded to the realization that we have spoken for too long. That does not mean that we will stop speaking, we will. But as my good friend and sister says many times, the mind is where the battles must be fought and won. You know, in the last few days, as I've traveled across the United States of America and allowed my mind to wrap itself around the efforts that have been made by persons of African origin over the years, many things come to my mind. The whole idea that Africa can only regain her lost glory through investment is one that has been recognized times without number. Many of you who are here in the diaspora will remember the very early efforts of Jamaica's Marcus Garvey. When he came up with his project, he recognized that the only way in which we are going to be recognized is to do things that change people's lives. Today, the Chinese are gaining recognition throughout the world, not just because of what they say, but because of what they do. This morning, as we entered this room, and as we registered our presence in this room, we were given little notebooks, which are now resident on your tables. If you turn the back of your notebooks, you will note that they are made in Guangzhou in China. The Chinese don't have to announce their presence, they are here by dint of that little notebook. And that is what I hear saying today, that Africa must do things that allow her to be recognized without our saying so. A mango tree can say that it is an orange, but that does not make it an orange tree. It is by doing things that we will change. And talking about the mind, it is Malcolm X who once said that if you've been made to come through the back door for too long, even where there is no back door, you'll create one. And I think many times we find ourselves in a situation where there is a front door, but we are not willing or ready to go through the front door. We want to create a back door for ourselves. The time has come that we must stop it. This morning, I received a footage which is doing the rounds. It is a conversation that Brother Louis Farrakhan had in Malawi in 1998. And he was telling the Malawians that we are tired of being beggars around the world. The time has come that we must do something. This is what Sister Arikana is telling us through the Wakanda city. This is what Shuri is telling us. This is what Brother Lucas is telling us, that we have talked for too long. And those of you who are here and those of you who are listening through technology, there are many things that are happening in Africa. It is easy to get tired. It is easy to be negative. It is easy to relapse into depression. It is easy to embrace do-nothingism. But ask yourself what that will do to this generation and generations yet to be born. You know, fortune favors the vigilant. Throughout history, the Igbo in Nigeria have a saying made famous by their son Chinua Achebe, when he says that when you see a frog in daylight, you know that something is after its time. Today, many Africans are coming out. And the question that some are asking is, what is after their life? There are many things that are after our lives. Poverty is running to catch us and to subdue us. And we know the pain of poverty. Wars are running after our lives. So that today, if you look at the indices of human development, life expectancy is going down. Maternal mortality is on the rise. Infant mortality is on the rise. Our young men and women are relapsing into depression. They are cannon fodder for those who are recruiting them to get into organizations whose only agenda is to destabilize the continent. And you see it across the continent. If you don't see it in Nigeria, you see it in Mozambique. If you don't see it in Mozambique, you see it in Ethiopia. And the question that we must ask is, what can we do about it? Impossible is a word that we are quick to embrace, but is one that belongs to the dictionary of fools and cowards. We must not say that things are impossible. I remember in 1987 when a young man seized political power in Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara. He said, in order to change the world, you must do things that others will think are mad. This is the point in time at which we must be mad, but mad in an organized way. As I listen to my good brother Lucas, I'm quite certain that many have questioned your sanity. When you are making a presentation about Wakanda City, they are saying, why are you thinking like this? I am urging you, continue being insane. Because it is only through insanity of that kind that we are going to change the continent of Africa. I look forward to the day in Ghana when with Sister Arikana we shall be present there and cut the sword so that we may lay the foundation stone for a city which will become a pilgrimage site for our men and women who are in the diaspora and for others who are living within the mother continent. It can be done and it must be done. So the time is now. The time is now for us to rise up and do the things that we must. The time is ripe for us who are in the mother continent to create an environment where those of you who are in the diaspora can come home. Whether you are in the United States of America, whether you are in Europe or Latin America or in Asia, we must create an environment where you can come in and support our efforts. It can be done. Sister Arikana talked about the Jews. Ask yourselves, if you read history, when these Jews were dispersed over 2,000 years ago, then in 1948, they created a nation. There are just a few of them. But wherever you go in the world, you hear this is a Jewish establishment. I'm told that there is an unwritten code that money must circulate within amongst them several times over before it goes out. Look at us. The relationship between ourselves and money is so flirtatious that when it enters our pocket, is in the business of getting out. We must stop that. We must create an environment where when money gets into our pocket, it finds a comfortable residence which accommodates it, which allows it to germinate and to grow. Until the day that we do that, we are going to be the scoundrels of this world. And we cannot afford that luxury. You know, when statisticians do what they do best, and they tell us that there are 400 million of people of African origin in the diaspora, I ask myself what it is that they can do. And I hear it being said that if only 1 million of them were to decide to give and give consistently, then we could move mountains. But you know, we must exorcise certain ghosts which are residents in our hearts and minds. The ghosts of suspicion, the ghosts of doubt, the ghosts of low self-esteem. These ghosts are so dominant in our hearts and minds that whenever we want to move in the right direction, they tell us, please don't move in that direction. It was never meant for you. Until we exorcise those ghosts, we are not going anywhere. So you are here, there is a sense in which you are in the process of exorcising those ghosts by agreeing to sit here and to listen to investment and ideas that can propagate the African agenda in a positive way. You are beginning to move in the right direction. You know, Africa has been in the business of saying beautiful things. If you permit me to go down a little into history. I don't want to go too back into history. I just want to go back to 1960. And I hear Africans of that day sitting in Casablanca, Morocco, and say, these are our enemies as people who have been enslaved, as people who have been colonized, as people who are laboring under neo-colonialism. These are our enemies, that one of them is ignorance. And that we must fight ignorance, that the other enemy is poverty, and that we must fight this enemy, and that the other one is disease. I hear them in 1961 in Casablanca, Morocco. And they don't stop there. I hear them in 1962 in Monrovia in Liberia saying the same thing. but I hear them more eloquently in 1963 on the 24th and 25th days in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, say that if we are to fight these enemies effectively, we must be united, because if we are not united, we are too fragmented that we will not make an impact. And they don't stop there. In 1964 in Cairo, they repeat the same thing. They're in the business of repeating. But they don't stop there. They don't stop there. They create the Organization of African Unity, but the Organization of African Unity does nothing apart from being a jamboree of African dictators, which meets and spews out speeches which are as followers. They are useless. And they don't stop there. They meet again in 1975 in Lomé, Togo. And again in 1971 in Cotonou, saying the same thing. They meet again in Lagos in 1980 and come up with the Lagos Plan of Action and say, Africa must trade with herself. I hear them. And they don't stop there. They do nothing between 1980 and they meet again in 2013. And they come up with Africa Agenda 2063. We are now in the second decade of the 21st century, which means we have lost 20 years. And they meet again, and on the first day of January this year, they come up with Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and they make the following promises. We are going to break down the tariff and anti-tariff barriers. We are going to allow Africans to move across the continent without the requirement of visas. We are going to allow labor to move. We are going to ensure that our products have value addition. They are telling us, if we don't do anything about it, they'll tell us another story in the year 2063, and you and me will be actors. So the time is now to make real those promises. We must no longer and can no longer afford the luxury of waiting for it to be done by others. We must make our contribution. And it is our contribution that will make things change. And that is how I understand Lucas. That is how I understand Dr. Arikana when she came up with the idea of Wakanda. And I can imagine that day. I was not there, but I can only imagine that day when others were watching this Hollywood movie called Wakanda and were agitated about the sci-fi of it. You are agitated about the reality of it. And the reality of it is that we can only give meaning beyond the Polaroid by going into the hard ground and describing the Cape Coast for what it is, a dungeon. Describing Elmina for what it is, a dungeon. And then changing that through alchemy so that we have something that can become a pilgrimage. That is how I understand Wakanda City. And let me tell you, I have no doubt in my mind that there is no shortage of individuals who are saying, let us see, because Africans are also fond of saying that, we have seen these many times. It too shall fail. We are in the business of saying that doomsday scenarios. But let us tell them here and now that it shall not fail. Let us take a solemn vow here that it shall not fail. And I want us, even in an assembly such as this, even when we meet for a few minutes, in order to demonstrate that it shall not fail, even in meetings such as this, to the extent that is useful, there is no sorrow in your pockets if you produce even $100, even in an assembly such as this. Because a long journey starts with baby steps. It is those baby steps that mature, so that even here, After we have consumed these beverages, let them give us the energy to give, that we may begin this journey, because when we do with our hearts what is resident there, so that we speak not the language of the lips, but the language of the heart, Africa shall not be the same again. And we must be able to go around in different parts of the continent of Africa. Many times we'll feel lonely. But is it not in solitude that the greatest ideas are birthed? Is it not in solitude that we change the world dramatically? Is it not in solitude that the purity of our thoughts is revealed? And when we have those pure thoughts, and Brother Shuri, it gladdens me to know that there are 65 organizations that are working under the aegis of the larger organization. I have no problem with organizations existing, no. Those are different permutations of ideas, as long as we agree that the agenda is one and that the goal is one. Let us have all these rivers, but because I've always said this and I repeat it again, the glory of the ocean lies in the many rivers that flow into her. The only thing that we must do is that we must make sure that these rivers are flowing in the right direction. Let us not have rivers that are trying to flow upstream. The laws of gravity will not allow you to do that. All rivers must flow downstream into the ocean. And the ocean that we have now is to begin to invest in the continent of Africa. And as I conclude, let us not be worried. Sometimes we get worried. Sometimes we are in a hurry. We are in a hurry because we think the things will not happen in my lifetime. They will not happen in your lifetime. Because what is your lifetime at the very best? If you live to 120 years, then you are the latter-day Methuselah. But there is no danger of you living to those ages, and there is no reason why you should. But you can immortalize yourself. That is the beauty of it. And how do you immortalize yourself? By contributing to processes that will live beyond you, beyond your children and children's children. So let us begin now. Let us begin now. And I can't wait for the month of December. If I was in the business of stopping the sun and causing it to move like Joshua did in the Bible, I would bring the month of December now. But the month of December is now 5 months away, and I hope that we will be present there. And the beauty is that today, even if you are not present physically, you can be present virtually. And the beauty of it is that you can be present through your bank account. This is the beauty of it. And the beauty of money is that money does not require a visa. That is how I love money. Oh, it doesn't require a visa. It knows no immigration. It moves without let and hindrance. That is what we need, because if you do that, it will get something. So let us utilize this instrument that we have, which requires no visa, which requires no immigration, which requires no passport, but which changes lives and changes things in a dramatic way. Ladies and gentlemen, it can be done, it must be done, and it is you and me who must do it. Let us play our part. God bless.
Thank you, our celebrated son of Africa, Professor PLO Lumumba. You inspire many around the world. They were listening to you here a few minutes ago and across the world. We are honored to have Mr. Demba from the Pan-African Broadcasting Service, and he's beaming that to almost other, I think, 70 countries. So what is being said here, maybe in this room, but it's across the world. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is important to us. We also want to recognize Kenya Diaspora Radio and TV, based in Minneapolis, which at this point in time is also doing the same thing. A lot of people have registered to attend virtually, and they have the live stream that is provided to them. So let me state here that we appreciate all of you. We are about to do some breakout session, and breakout session is just for us to interact. We don't want to leave this room without knowing each other a little bit. So actually we will have 4 breakout tables. There'll be this table here, people who want to come and talk a little bit with Her Excellency, you know, in that table. And then we'll have another breakout table there with Professor PLO Lumumba, a few people that want to talk with him and engage with him. There'll be another breakout table here with Professor Lucas and people who want to talk around that. Again, we'll give breakout sessions for maybe like about 45 minutes. And then we will regroup so that we can be able to conclude this conference. But before we do that, I have 2 people that I would want to just request that once they come here, they give a quick 5-minute presentation about their organizations. One is my good friend, Olivier Kamanzi, coming all the way from Chicago. He's the financial director of ADDI and its various arms, Eddie's and Eddie's Bank and all the others. So he's going to make a presentation and talk to you about ADDI. The other person who will be getting ready is Christine Tantuo to talk a little bit about the PLO Foundation. Just a few things. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Robert H. Curie. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being such brother, such a good friend. Jambo. Sasa ni kutoka huko East Africa. Okay, tunaweza kuzungumuza here. Okay. Anyway, my name is Olivier Kamanzi. I bear several hats, but there are 2 hats that I prefer. One being Pan-Africanist, and the second a businessman. So, because business is about money, so I'm here to talk about money, right? I hope everybody's what you want here. But before that, let me recognize wonderful people here in the room. Your Excellency, Ambassador Dr. Arikana Chihombori Kwao. Good to see you, my sister. Good to see you. The second, Professor PLO Lumumba. Thank you, Honorable, for being with us this afternoon. Of course, my good brother of Global One Voice Consortium. So also my Professor Lucas. Of course, I won't really forget you, everybody who is here this afternoon. Once again, good afternoon. I'm a finance director of ADDI, Africa Diaspora, Africa Diaspora Development Institute, also Africa Diaspora Development Holding Company. So I'm glad to be here this afternoon to talk about that specific. On the business side, I'm an investment banker for about 30 years. I work for JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup. Also, I set it up Rwanda Stock Exchange or Capital Market of Rwanda. So I've worked in Kenya for several times we set up this payment system, CDA, Central Depository System. So in East Africa is home. I've been in Kenya several times. I'm glad to be here. So I'm former head of a Capital Market Authority of Rwanda. So now I work for myself. I have companies in Chicago, 3 companies, and also 5 companies on the continent of Africa in 5 countries. So today, let's talk about finance. When I met my good sister, Your Excellency, Ambassador Chihombori, I told him, I'm really glad to work with you because you have a vision, a big vision, to depend on ourselves, right? This is a new day. And however I said, let's talk, walk the talk. Let's get things done. We have to be doers because we've talked a long time. But to be able to talk, for people to listen to you, you have to have money. If you don't have money, no one is willing to listen to you. I said we need to be financial independent. We need to control our financial system. We don't have to go to Switzerland to control how money is being, the settlement, the international bank settlement, any transaction, global transaction we go to Switzerland to settle. Money can be sent back home. When I was the Central Bank of Rwanda, when I heard that if you are really sending $200 million to African nations, they block you. When you want to send in one time, they will block you. You have seen, my good sister, what happened when we raised the money. When we want to send the money, they were blocking us. Oh, there is money laundering, something is going on wrong. If we are able to control our finances, nobody's going to control us. That's what I said. This is my expertise. This I've been doing in my life, even when at the night I'm sleeping. I'm thinking about how you create wealth, right? That's what I do. I do the best. That's what I know the best. So we decided to say, let's do something now. Let's create Africa Diaspora International Savings Bank, or International Bank. It's going to be based in Antigua. So we put our money where our mouth is, right? That's what we need to do. We are doing it. It's happening right now. To begin with that, we need now to be real. The transactions, the payments. How do you make your payments? You need the card. Lumumba said very well, right? So you don't have to carry this Visa card, right? You can even have your wallet. You can, the Kenyan people, you are the one sending $1 billion to your country, right? So what do you use, right, to make a payment?
Right.
Yeah, right? Western Union, whatever. Who owns Western Union? Right? Who owns Visa? Who owns MasterCard? Those are foreign, those people we don't feel comfortable with. What do we do ourselves? That's when we have Dr. Chihombori discussed with Your Excellency Ambassador. They came together. They make sure we bring the Kenyan diaspora with us. Why are you running your own circle, right? Why you are doing the bank right here? Why can't we create synergies, right? That's what we are doing. Now we came together. We talked about the women. The Kenyan women are really very strong. Let's bring a women. Let's bring a youth. Let's bring you guys in diaspora. Work together. One Voice Consortium, ADDI, ADDH, come together. We create the one largest financial institution, right? And it becomes so strong, right? We have expertise, right? So that's really what we are doing. For payment system, we are coming up with the Africa card. Is a credit card or a prepaid card you can use. You can load the money, be able to send the money home. Instead of going to Western Union, let's use our own card, our own wallet, right? To be able to send the money back home, right? So that's what we are doing, right? So it's gonna come very soon. In a few 2 or 3 weeks, the card will come out. If you can subscribe, you'll be the first on that card. On the back side, I want to invite you to become the shareholders. You become the founding members of this Africa Diaspora International Savings Bank. We are issued the shares. The shares are available. We have two classes of shares. One is a Class A share, Tier 1. We issued around 3,000 shares on 500 per share, which we can always split, right? We can always, one share we can split 8 times, anytime we want. We just started by one share, $500, right? Or 5,000 shares at 300 shares per share. So today, if you are really interested to become a shareholder in this bank, you can subscribe today. I will take, I think my good, I forgot the wonderful sister we have, Olayinka. Can you stand to be recognized, please? Olayinka, where are you? Please. This is a wonderful woman. Whatever is happening at ADDI, she's the brain. She's the one to make it happen. She's the one to make sure our good sister, Ambassador Arikana, shines. Whatever you see she's doing, amazing, a global voice you hear every day for her is because of this wonderful lady. So you can reach out to her. She has information for everyone. Everyone you can imagine. She manages database. She makes sure ambassadors, our good sister, looks very good, right? So you can reach out to her, sign, subscribe. She will send us information. We make sure you become the founder and the owner of this wonderful financial institution. We want to change Africa. We want to make we own Africa. Only one way you can own it is because when you have money, right? You have a cash, right? With that, I'm not gonna 5 minutes. Took more than 5 minutes, but I just want to share what I hear. I want to listen. Every time I go to Africa, everybody is asking, diaspora. Are you diaspora or the other diaspora? And then once I say, what is the other diaspora and the other diaspora? I keep quiet because I know what they're talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother Olivier Kamanzi. Olivier is great in the financial world. He's going to be our driver on the financial end. He has already told you about the Africa card, and you'll be seeing something similar to that will be posted. And by the way, make sure you put your name at the registration, because all the information that we have, both for ADDI, for PLO Foundation, for One Voice Consortium, will all be sent to your emails, so that everybody will be receiving not just what you've had, but things that you can be able to look at your own free time and share with others. So the next person who I'm going to give another 5 minutes, and I hope she doesn't go beyond that, because we have some breakout sessions so that we interact, is Christine Tantuo, to just quickly mention about the PLO Foundation, which Professor PLO Lumumba heads as an organization. So welcome, Christine.
Thank you, Robert. I know he's given me 5 minutes, but I'm not afraid. Dr. Arikana, thank you for saying we should not be afraid, so I will take whatever time to explain, talk about the PLO Foundation. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Christine Tantuo, and I am with the PLO Lumumba Foundation. I've been with the foundation for 1.5 years, and I wear 2 hats, and I'll tell you about the second hat shortly. So the PLO Lumumba Foundation has been around for 30 years. It has been supported mainly by PLO Lumumba personally, and over the years, the support has been around education, whereby he's been supporting students that are needy in areas of education by book donations, supporting them with paying fees, connecting them to individuals who can recruit them after they've finished with education, and things like that. But as it has been growing, it is now in 38 countries in Africa, and a lot of the people who are representatives in the various countries are volunteers who have come up and said, look, we want to be a part of the PLO Lumumba Foundation. They have registered the PLO Lumumba Foundation in their various countries, and we support them through various initiatives. The main areas that we focus on are education, agriculture, innovation, and healthcare. So when we find young people in doing things in certain areas, we support them in their area of expertise. So we do not come and say, look, you need to come and do things this way. So we find institutions that can actually work with them in the areas of expertise to help them grow and to provide mentorship programs to them. So that if you're in agriculture and we have somebody in Uganda who's also trying to do agriculture, then we link the two and we help you through the mentorship program to support the young people. So that is one of the things that we do, and we are well represented across Africa. In this context here, we are partners with ADDI and One Voice Consortium as an organization, and of course we are going to support whatever projects the three organizations come up with. The Wakanda project is one that we're really passionate about, and it's one of the projects that I think the foundation will look to see how we can support in our own way, and even across the 38 countries, to support people to get them to invest in that program. So thank you very much, and I think we'll kind of like, move together with that project. The second umbrella is the advisory arm within the Lumumba and Lumumba Foundation, which is headed by Mrs. Lumumba. She's here with us today because we found a lot of institutions across the world want to establish a presence in Africa, and they don't know how to go about it. And with the PLO Lumumba Foundation and the linkages we've created across the globe, we kind of like represent them in Africa. So they come to us and we manage their advisory services to help them establish businesses and connect them to projects across the continent. So that is one of the other arms that we are representing here today. So in terms of investment, it will come through the advisory division. In terms of supporting certain projects, then the foundation is also present. So thank you so much. I think my 5 minutes are up, and it is a great pleasure to meet you, Dr.
Thank you, Christine Tantuo, Director of the PLO Foundation, and the good work that you do for that foundation that has a presence in 38 African countries. And when you hear 38 countries, it means there are 38 souls that have been at least one person in that country. And so if we can bring a smile to at least one person in every country, that is great. That is great. So what we are doing here is just like what I normally say, it's like you're throwing a stone in a pond and then the waves are gathering there. So we are doing that. That $1 that Her Excellency was talking about is nothing that is going to make us poorer, but it's going to make us richer. $1 per person. $1. Just consider that. Just $1. We're talking about 1 million people across the globe, Africans. So if you can say just $1, it's not really going to make you poorer, but it's going to make you richer. That's the way we see it. So thank you, Your Excellency, for that vision. We continue to treasure that vision, and we'll continue to support you fully in what we are doing. So right now we'll go into the breakout sessions, and the purpose of this is so that we can interact, because we have, as I said from the beginning, 2 great stars that are here, and it would be not good for you to leave this room without even shaking their hands or even talking to them and having a conversation. But we will be back in about, that is exactly at 2 p.m. so that we can be able to conclude this conference. The conclusion will be for about an hour. We should be done by 3 p.m., but at 2 we start the closing session. So right now is a breakout. For those who want to use the bathrooms, they are on the right. And feel free to interact. This table here will be with Professor Lucas. This table here will be with Her Excellency Dr. Arikana. That table there will be with Professor PLO. Feel free to have breakout sessions and discuss more. Thank you. There was one gentleman called Garfield. There's a gentleman called Garfield. Actually, he said, can you say something, Garfield? Huh? I'm not a good speaker. But he wanted to meet PLO. Yes. So there he is. Yes. There he is.